Hello friends, welcome to the Saker Academy. This is module 10 about AZ-900 Microsoft Azure Fundamentals, real exam questions and concepts. In this module, I will be providing few more real exam questions and concepts. So let's begin the questions. AZ-900 exam question number 151. For each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true, otherwise select no. Each correct selection is worth 1 point here. So let's go to the statements. Statement 1. By creating additional resource group in Azure subscription, additional costs are incurred. So creating additional resource group in this Azure subscription, so will not have any additional costs, so Azure will not charge any cost for that. So the right answer is no. Let's go to the statement 2. By copying several gigabits of data to Azure from an on-premises network over a VPN, additional data transfer costs are incurred. So this is also no, right? So Azure from on-premises, there will be no additional data transfer cost, right? Answer is no. And next one, by copying several GB of data from Azure to an on-premises network over a VPN, additional data transfer costs are incurred. The right answer is yes, right? So if you're copying the data from Azure to on-premises network, so definitely there will be an additional data transfer costs are incurred. AZ-900 exam question number 152. You create a resource group named RG1 in Azure Resource Manager. You need to prevent the accidental deletion of the resources in RG1. Which setting should you use? So to answer, select the appropriate setting in the answer area. So here are the options: quick start, resource cost, deployments, policies, properties, logs, automation scripts, right? So to create resource group you created the resource group in named RG1 in the ARM, and you want to prevent that the accidental deletion of that resource group in RG1, right? So to prevent that, so there should be logs in cloud, so that way we can implement the logs to prevent the any accidental deletion of the resources. The right answer is logs. AZ-900 exam question number 153. To complete the sentence, select the appropriate option in the answer area. In the answer area, we have the statement here: if a resource group named RG1 has a delete log, so what can be happen? Can delete RG1. So in which case can delete the RG1, right? So the options we have: only a member of the global administrators group, the delete log must be removed before an administrator, an Azure policy must be modified before an administrator, an Azure tag must be added before an administrator, right? So the resource group named RG1 has a delete log, but how can you delete RG1 log, right? So how you can delete, right? So the right answer is here: delete log must be removed before an administrator. So that way you can delete even the RG resource group has a delete log, right? So the right answer: delete log must be removed before an administrator. So AZ-900 exam question number 154. For each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true, otherwise select no. Each correct selection is worth 1 point. Let's go to the statement 1. An Azure resource can have multiple delete logs. Azure resource can have multiple delete logs. The right answer is here yes. So one resource can have a multiple logs, delete logs. So there is no restriction about that. Next statement: an Azure resource inherits logs from its resource group, right? So this is also yes. So whatever logs we implement on the resource group, right? So under the inside the resource group, whatever resources we have, so all will be applicable for those locks. So the right answer is yes. Next statement, if an Azure resource has a read-only lock, you can add a delete lock to the resource, right? Currently the resource having the read-only lock, so can we add delete lock to the resource? Yes, so you can add a delete lock for the resource. AZ-900 exam question number 155. For each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true, otherwise select no. Let's go to the statement 1. You can add an Azure Resource Manager template to an Azure Blueprint, right? You can add an Azure Resource Manager template to an Azure Blueprint. Options we have yes and no. So for these statements, the right answer is yes. You can add ARM to an Azure Blueprint. Next statement, you can assign an Azure Blueprint to resource group. Right here, you can assign an Azure Blueprint to a resource group. The right answer is no. You cannot assign a blueprint to the resource group. Right? So you cannot group. Right? The right answer is no. Next statement, you can use Azure Blueprints to grant permissions to resource. So this is again yes. The right answer is yes. You can assign Azure Blueprints to grant permissions to the resource. Right? Right answer is yes. AZ-900 exam question number 156. Note, this question is part of series of questions that present the same scenario. Each question in the series contains a unique solution that might meet the stated goals. Some question sets might have more than one correct solution, while others might not have a correct solution. After you answer a question in this section, you will not be able to return to it. As a result, these questions will not appear in the review screen. Right? So let's go to the question. You plan to deploy several Azure virtual machines and you need to ensure that the services running on the virtual machines are available if a single data center fails. Solution is here, you deploy the virtual machines to two or more availability zones, right? So here data center fails. So if single data center fails means we are expecting the services under that virtual machines, right? So should be available. So in that case, what we are expecting, the solution is here. You deploy the virtual machines to two or more availability zones. So so does this solution meet the goals? The options we have yes and no. The right answer is yes. So the zones, availability zones, the concept, right? So when we have any such failures, so the zones, availability zones is the feature where we can recover or where we can use the such resources even this another resource data center got failed. Right answer is yes. AZ-900 exam question number 157. So the question is same what we have seen in the previous question, but the solution is here. You deploy the virtual machines to two or more regions. Does this solution meet the goal? Right? Options yes and no. Right? So you deploy the virtual machines to two or more regions. So here again the right answer is yes. So the regions and the zones, availability zones, are the facilities in Azure where you can utilize when we got the such issues, such data center failures. The right answer is yes. AZ-900 exam question number 158. The question is same here and the provided solution is here. You deploy the virtual machines to two or more resource group. So does this solution meet the goal? Options yes and no. So if you deploy the virtual machines to two or more resource group, so that will, since the services running under the virtual machines are itself, it's like it is placed in the single data center. So if it is fails, and even if it is there in the another resource group, the data center itself it got failed. So whatever resources or resource groups are available in that data center will be lost. So this will not meet the goal. The right answer is here option B, no. AZ-900 exam question number 159. The question is same what we have seen in the previous question, but provided solution is here. You deploy the virtual machines to scale set. Does this solution meet the goal? Again, the right answer is here B, no. So this will not meet the goal. Since you are deploying the virtual machines to a scale set, so that will not meet the goal. AZ-900 exam question number 160. The question is same what we have seen in the previous question. Provided solution is here. You deploy the virtual machines to 2 or more scale sets. Does this solution meet the goal? Again, right answer is B, no. So even if you deploy the virtual machines to 2 or more scale sets or 1 scale set, so this will not meet the goal, right? So you will not be able to recover, or you will not be able to utilize these services. Right answer is B, no. AZ-900 exam question number 161. You have a resource group named RG1. You need to prevent the creation of virtual machines in RG1, and the solution must ensure that other objects can be created in RG1, right? You need to prevent the creation of virtual machines in RG1, and the solution must ensure that the other objects can be created in RG1. So only virtual machine restriction we are taking here, considering here. So what should you use? The options we have: A lock, B an Azure role, C a tag, and D an Azure policy. So the right answer is here an Azure policy. So in Azure policy we can prevent the creation of virtual machines in RG1, and then we can create the other objects and resources in the same resource group. Right answer is D, an Azure policy. AZ-900 exam question number 162. Your company has an Azure subscriptions that contains resources in several regions. You need to create the Azure resource that must be used to meet the policy requirement, right? So you need to create the Azure resource that must be used to meet the policy requirements. So what should you create? The options we have: A read-only lock, B an Azure policy, C a management group, and D a reservation, right? So here the right answer is A, B an Azure policy. Again, so in Azure policy we can define that, and we can create the Azure resource to meet the policy requirement. AZ-900 exam question number 163. To complete the sentence, select the appropriate option in the answer area. In the answer area, we have the statement here. An Azure policy initiative definition is a. Options we have: collection of policy definitions, collection of Azure policy definition assignments, group of Azure blueprints definitions, a group of role-based access control role assignments, right? So Azure policy initiative definition is here. Right answer is here collection of policy definitions. So that means that a collection of policy definitions is a Azure policy initiative. AZ-900 exam question number 164. You have an Azure subscription and 100 Windows 10 devices. You need to ensure that only users whose devices have the latest security patches installed can access Azure Active Directory integrated applications, right? You need to ensure that only users whose devices have the latest security patches installed can only access the Azure AD integrated applications. So what should you implement? Right? So the options we have: a conditional access policy, B, Azure Boston, C, Azure Firewall, D, Azure Policy. So the right answer is a conditional access policy. So under the conditional access policy, we can create the we can restrict and we can prevent those users who do not have the latest security patches installed uh, can have the Azure AD integrated applications. That way we can prevent the access to those users. The right answer is a conditional access policy. AZ-900 exam question number 165. You plan to deploy several Azure virtual machines. You need to ensure that the services running on the virtual machines remain available if single data center fails. What are two possible solutions? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Options we have: A, deploy the virtual machines to two or more availability zones, and B, deploy the virtual machines to two or more resource groups, and C, deploy the virtual machines to scale set, and D, deploy the virtual machines to two or more regions. The right answer is A and D. Alright, so if any data center fails, the failure what we have in the Azure, right? So cloud availability zones and the regions where we will have another data center. It's kind of a data, what is that, fault tolerance, right? So if any data center fails, another data center will be available, so you can use those services running on the virtual machines. The right answer is A and D. AZ-900 exam question number 166. You need to identify the type of failure for which an Azure availability zone can be used to protect access to Azure services. What should you do? What should you identify? A physical server failure, B, an Azure region failure, C, a storage failure, and D, an Azure data center failure. The right answer is, so here the right answer is an Azure data center failure. AZ-900 exam question number 167. For each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true, otherwise select no. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point here. So let's go to the answer area. We have three statements. Statement 1, availability zones can be implemented in all Azure regions. The right answer is here B, no. Availability zones can't be implemented in all Azure zones. So there will be some restrictions. So when you see the Azure regions structure, right? So you will understand. So next statement, only virtual machines that run on Windows Server can be created in availability zones. The right answer is no. So there is no restriction, right? So the right answer is no. Next statement, availability zones are used to replicate data and applications to multiple regions. Availability zones are used to replicate data and applications to multiple regions. The right answer is no. Here the right answer is no. AZ-900 exam question number 168. You plan to deploy a critical line of business applications to Azure, and the application will run on Azure virtual machine, and you need to recommend a deployment solution for the application, and the solution must provide a guaranteed availability of 99.99%, right? So what is the minimum number of virtual machines and the minimum number of availability zones you should recommend for the deployment? To answer, select the appropriate option in the answer area. So note, each correct selection is worth 1 point here. In the answer area, minimum number of virtual machines, the options 1, 2 or 3, and right answer is here, you can have minimum number of virtual machines 2, and the other, right, so minimum number of availability zones, that also should be 2. So because since we need the solution must provide a guaranteed availability of 99.99%, right? So definitely we need two virtual machines and two availability zones. AZ-900 exam question number 169. To complete the sentence, select the appropriate option in the answer area. In the answer area, the statement is here: an availability zone in Azure has a physical separate locations. Options we have: across two continents, within a single Azure region, within multiple Azure regions, within a single Azure data center. Right answer is here: within a single Azure region, right? So availability zone is in the sense it is a physical separate location within a single Azure region. AZ-900 exam question number 170. For each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true, otherwise select no. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Let's go to the statements. Statement 1. North America is represented by a single Azure region. The right answer is no. So it is not a single Azure region. Next statement. Every Azure region has multiple data centers. The right answer is yes. So you will have a multiple data centers available in each Azure region. Next statement. Data transfers between Azure services located in different Azure regions are always free. So here the right answer is no. So there are no such cost free transfers, right? So from different regions, if you are transferring the data from between services, right? So Azure will charge for that. So the right answer is no. With this, we completed module 10 about AZ-900 Microsoft Azure Fundamentals Certificate Real Exam Questions and Concepts. So if you are new to my channel, please like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to provide your valuable comments. Thanks for watching.